Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Forever Fast podcast. I'm your host, Ron Jamin. Thank you very much for tuning in. This podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I do appreciate all the listens. If you have any feedback, leave a comment or hit me up on social media. I'll have links to all my stuff in the description. But this episode, going to be talking about a theory I have involving the true and final death of a character. Not that it's deserved or anything, but in this franchise, nobody really stays dead. And I have an alternate idea, theory, how Fast and Furious 11, or whichever is the final one, should end. So again, if you have any thoughts or comments, please reach out and I'll even respond, and that to them in a upcoming episode. But so now we got a little under 2 years till Fast and Furious 11, aka Fast Forever, drops in theaters. And anyways, let's get into it. Well, the timeline of these movies, it's not in any real set order because of Letty's tombstone, the read her birth date, and then in Fast and Furious 9, she's supposed to be a kid, but she's actually a teenager. And just the time jumps and that, things like that, which kind of destroy the continuity of everything. However, real life does affect, movies and that. Now, I don't think that they originally wrote it, if they've even written a script for the 11th one, that little B is going to die. But now I think, unless they do a time jump, and it's explained really well, like really compelling, like, oh, I understand. You think about it. The actor who plays Little B in Fast X, Fast and Furious 10, there's going to be a 5-year gap because 11 is coming out in a little under 2 years. So this kid's already a teenager now. And I don't follow anyone on social media as far as the cast. Like, I love these movies. Obviously, I started a podcast because of them. But outside of that, I just don't really have any interest in like their personal lives. Nothing personal, but with the kid, they can't match it up to 10. If they start right after that, which I think they will, I think in 11 it'll be revealed that Dom survived and Little B died. Because, on that damn wall and wherever else Dante and his crew set up those explosives. And how does Dom escape? Who knows? But I think that's why Little B will be killed off screen. Or maybe they'll use, AI or something and match Little B from 10 and not show him getting killed. I don't think they'll do that with a child on screen. But I think that's what has to happen because the kid now has got to be a teenager and it won't match up unless there is a time jump. But then it's like, well, Dante's going after the rest of the crew, everyone who's helped Dom. He wouldn't wait 5 years. Like he's already waited 10. But I think that's what's going to happen. Unless there's some way around it, something I haven't thought about. I think it'll be dramatic. It seems unnecessary, especially since, like I mentioned in the intro, nobody stays dead in this franchise. And the characters that have come back, and then Han, they brought him back just to kill him off? Doesn't really add up, but let me know what you think with Little B. And I don't see Dom dying. I mean, that would just... maybe at the very end, but I'll talk about that a little later. But I think, unfortunately, that's how it's going to have to be written, portrayed. And it is unfortunate. I mean, I didn't like how they dealt with Elena in the end. Like, she's a very strong character, and I like how they incorporated Cypher and everything into that story. 8, that was a very good twist. because we had no idea she was even pregnant. That didn't match up, but yeah, let me know what you think. Well, ever since they announced that 11 or whichever movie would be the last one, like this series is winding down, at least for this family, for these characters, over the past few years, it's like I struggle to think about how should it end? Because nobody stays dead. I'm talking, our heroes, villains, everyone becomes family. And it's kind of like they're leading up to this and what's going to happen. And the brilliant thing about the Fast and Furious movies, one of the brilliant things that I love is they just kept going back. So this connects to that. Everything in Fast 5, you have consequences in 6, 7, 8. You took out my teams. Here's the Shaw family. Wait, we're working together now. And just like the John Wick movies, not the same by any means, but those kept going back. Like we learned more about John and his relationship, his travels and that. And that's what works. Whereas the Mission Impossible movies, I still want to love the Final Reckoning and Dead Reckoning, but there just wasn't build up to the whole key thing in the submarine. They just, like, oh, here's the finale. You're like, oh. And in the end, it's kind of like, are you sure this is the last one? But point being, back to Fast and Furious, who's going to walk off into the sunset? Are we going to open up Toretto Grocery, end with a race with Brian? But it's like, oh, we did that with 7 at the end. And I like how they brought him back at the end of 9 without seeing Brian. Like, that was very clever. And all these storylines to conclude. And then I thought, well, maybe just end it with whomever survives, which I think will be all of our main characters because, like I said before, nobody stays dead in these movies. And there's just so much to wrap up. I don't think it can be done in 11. I'm not saying there will be a 12. The Hobbs and Shaw bridge film, or the Hobbs bridge film rather, because they were going to do Hobbs and Shaw 2. That, for whatever reason, got canceled, or just hasn't happened yet. And then the Hobbs bridge film between 10 and 11, where Dante goes after Hobbs, that is not happening for some reason. But back to my point, in 11, maybe it just ends with a barbecue. It's just that simple. Because think about it. Most of the movies end that way. The family reunites after this big mission, and they don't need to go really beyond that. Maybe a good speech from Dom at the end. Because if they do try and kill off any of the main characters, it's just not going to stick. Or they do it and then they bring him back in a future spin-off. Because I'm sure there'll be movies about, all their kids growing up together and maybe getting into the same trouble in that. Who knows? Dom and Mia's kids. Because I was like, why can't I write? Because, I've written stuff over the years just for fun, just as a fan. But an ending, I'm like, well, yeah, just a barbecue. Nothing fancy, nothing over the top. Because there is just so much going on and all this buildup and all the pressure. And it's like, well, no wonder I can't write anything else. You just have them at the Toretto house or, at the O'Connor's place. Something like that. And maybe nothing fancy, no big speech or anything, I don't know. And of course, Brian, he's going to be involved in 11. I think fans will cheer if we do see him. I think they'll use AI. I don't think they need to use his brothers. I think they will if they're used as stand-ins, to honor his legacy and respect his family in that. But Dante's going to go after everyone, and I'm still under the assumption that Mr. Nobody and or Brian and Mia are going to swoop in and save Dom. If you haven't, check out the first segment where I talk about why I think little B's going to die. And we're not going to see it. It'll just be mentioned. I think Dom will wake up. He'd been in a coma for however long. And maybe they do a montage of Dante going after, the rest of the family. Because, again, there's just so many characters to deal with. And it's just so much to do in one movie. So Dom wakes up, and I know there's one theory that's been stirring for years where they say that Dom's been in a coma for however long. And all this has been like a dream nightmare kind of scenario. I don't see that playing out. These movies just don't have that kind of tone, or it wouldn't be very fitting. But he wakes up and he learns that little B died. So the dam came down, and helicopter shows up. It's Mr. Nobody and or Brian and Mia, because they knew about the meeting spot. I don't know if Mr. Nobody did, but they show up, and Dom's, already knocked out, and little B, same thing, but passed away. And the movie ends, and it's going to be sad no matter what, I think, because Dante is going to kill at least some of the family. Again, nobody stays dead, so it's hard to argue, but he's going to do some damage no matter what. And with his character, what I like is that we don't know what's going to happen. Redemption, I don't see it. Even though Dom didn't kill his dad, he did target him first. He didn't go after Hobbs right away, for whatever reason. It's more like, well, you got us tangled up in all this, But, again, I like that with Dante, we don't know his finale. Or maybe they keep him alive, and he just, is left for dead. But that would be a repeat of what happened, though. After he was tossed from the vehicle in Fast 5 and then ended up in the water, presumed dead, and actually died for a short period of time. But that's one thing I like, is that I'm not sure what should happen with that character. Now, one theory I had a long time ago is that because we don't know all of their family members and that, so I'm like, well, what if Dante and Dom, it's revealed that they're brothers? Because you think, well, we know the fathers, we've seen them, but not the mothers. I'll have to watch Fast X again, because I think we actually saw who Dante's mother was, but in the files and that, from Elena's sister. But that's the only redemption thing. Like, Dom wouldn't kill him because of that. Especially after what happened to Jacob. Is Jacob dead? There's just too much going on. But let me know what you think. How you envision the movie ending. How should it end? And who's going to survive? Who are they saving for spin-offs and that? Like, I don't think we'll see Owen in 11. Unless Dante goes after him. Which I'm sure he will. Possibly. Or team up with him. But yeah, let me know what you think. And in 11, there's just so many possibilities. But I just, picture the old barbecue. Then a good send-off song. Maybe they set up another movie or, a spin-off franchise. I'm not sure. But also let me know if you think it'll make the March 2028 release date. Because I think I mentioned this in the last podcast, but March tells me that the summer's booked in 2028. Because March, not very fitting for this franchise. Because I remember when Fast 5 was going to come out, and they moved the release date up. That was in April, I believe. And I was like, sweet. Or maybe it was Furious 7. But April, May, June, July, that's fine. But March, that's a very odd time. At least for this franchise, but I guess we'll see. Well, I just read that Vin Diesel recently met with a new writer for 11, which I think isn't a great sign. Nothing against the writer that they hired, but they had about 3 for Fast X, including Justin Lin, because they had 2 writers and then a co-writer, I believe, for the screenplay. And my issue is that, well, what if this writer has a different vision that doesn't really connect all the way to Fast X? What if they change things up? It gets even more confusing with, timelines and character arcs and that. And just like when a director takes over for a sequel and it's a different one and they have a different vision, like what happened with the Star Wars trilogy, the recent one. And even though it seems like he's out of the game, Justin Lin, I'm hoping that he directs a scene, maybe the final one, because even though this franchise isn't his baby, the revival certainly is. I mean, directing a spin-off, Tokyo Drift, which for the most part is, until that cameo at the end. But then we go back in time, and because people loved Han in that, and it's like 4, 5, and 6 are all prequels to Tokyo Drift, and all the sequels, he directed. So I hope he's involved in some way. I was hoping the screenplay, because I talked about this in a recent podcast, and I thought that I was under the impression that because of the budget for Fast X, that they'd shot 10 and 11 back to back. So the fact that they're still writing, or maybe haven't even started the screenplay for 11, is pretty worrisome. But I have faith, because this franchise has had different directors. I mean, Lin stepped away after 6 because the studio wanted 7 a year after 6 dropped in theaters. So remember, they were planning to put these out 1 a year, which is insane. But that didn't work out, not only because of Paul's death, but you notice after that, they'll take 3-4 years in between sequels. And James Wan did an amazing job with 7, didn't mess with the timeline or anything. And F. Gary Gray with 8, Justin came back for 9. And then Lewis, I'm glad he's returning as director for 11, because 10 and 11, it's like, okay. Because Fast X, even though there was some stuff I didn't really agree with, listen to my full review of the movie. Because style, thrills, and nonsense. But he's coming back for 11, which is good. But I just hope, again, that Lin is able to contribute something if he wants to, with this being the last, the last ride for these characters. But let me know what you think. Leave some comments. Hit me up on social media. And I just think it'd be special, especially with this one. I'm sure we're going to see Brian O'Connor. We're going to see Paul's character. And whether it's for a moment, a glimpse, or an entire scene, we'll see. But it'd just be a nice bow on it. But Lin might not... I mean, he stepped away as director. I believe he was still producer for Fast X, but if he is done with it, I understand. But just as a longtime fan, I mean, Tokyo Drift came out 20 years ago this year. So it'd be nice if, he's able to contribute something, or if there's demand for him, like I said, to direct a scene, or heck, maybe he'll help write the finale. But time will tell. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'd love to hear from you. So all my links in the description. And this podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And I can't wait for number 11 We'll see if it makes that release date. It was already supposed to be out, plus the Hobbs Bridge film, but no word on that. I think it figured it was greenlit, but so yeah, I covered a lot of stuff in this as far as why I think Little B will die. Justin Lin, if he's going to return in any way. You know, how the movie should end. How could it end? And stay tuned for more episodes. And yes, if you're brand new to the podcast and you're like, oh, you got the title wrong. I've had this podcast since 2014. Started calling it Forever Fast. And then they announced the title for 11 recently, and I was like, oh. I still like mine, the order of it, but it's pretty cool. So I'm not going to change it to Fast Forever. But that is a good title for the last one. And anyways, like, subscribe, follow, share, rate, review, all that fun stuff. Check out my Fanatic website. I haven't put anything new up in quite a while, but you'll see all my original screenplays in that. And other stuff I'm working on. So thanks again for tuning in. I will see you next time. Ride or die.